All right, welcome to the Spoiler Kings. My name is Tank Kramer. I am with Brandman Brandon, Brian the Grizzly, and we are going to talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Netflix live action version. We have to be that specific. We have like Avatar, no
Mhm.
Avatar: The Last Airbender, no Avatar: The Last Airbender live action. No, the one on Netflix. Like
Mhm.
that's insane. No spoiler, or we are going to talk about. Sorry, we are going to talk about spoilers. Pretty much a boy known as the Avatar must master all four element powers to save the world at a war and a fight ruthless enemy bent on stopping him. You know, nothing too crazy. Like superpower boy. We're going to talk about some of the good stuff, some of the bad stuff, and give our ratings at the end. Brandon, what did you like about this show?
Uh, I liked everything visually. I liked that they retained a lot of the music from the original, especially the main theme.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the actors were pretty well cast. Loved, the use of martial arts. I liked that. Unlike the M Night Shyamalan movie, where everyone was just doing like very basic like Tai Chi moves or Taekwondo or just waving their hands around. Like the martial arts were actually varied, and the bending actually felt like an extension of the user
Right.
rather than them like doing all this and before they even bent one thing. I thought I thought the MVPs of the show were the actor who played Sokka. Like I thought he was a lot like the animated version. I thought the dude playing Zuko was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it treated the content with a lot more respect than Shyamalan did. That's for sure. Um, it didn't try to reinvent the wheel or just do whatever it felt like or thought that it knew more than the creators of the show did, which I really appreciated. So I'd say those were, and I liked it enough to where I'd watch another season or two. If they
Mm-hmm.
adapted the other books, I'd watch them.
Yeah.
That's what I liked
Okay.
about
Okay. What are you, Brian? What you like about it?
Um, Honestly, so if I hadn't seen the animated series, I would say that this was a great. Everything about it was great. Um, I mean, literally, if I didn't see other stuff, everything they did was really, really well. All the casting was done well. All the acting was done well. I mean, Sokka was great, great. And all his triangles, love triangles, all of it was so well done. The Zuko and Iroh, I still enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But that's once again for me, the animated series. Those are two of my favorite characters. So it's hard, to compare when you start doing that. But just as it stands on its own 2 feet, they did well with the writing. They respected all the bending. They took time to teach people how to do it the right way.
it. Hmm.
Even if you talking about Katara when she was, when she went to the northern water tribe or the southern water tribe,
Was.
and when she, you know, and they didn't want to let her fight, and she went to show I can fight. That scene was really well done. Like
Mm-hmm.
they weren't just doing stuff. They had actual movement. You had to really know Tai Chi. You had to really know these things. And I thought that they did wonderfully with even those details. Um, the idea that letting all the women do stuff. Once again, I think that was good. If I hadn't seen the original animated series, I think that all that would have been amazing. And with,
Hmm.
if if it stands on its own, I give it like an 8.5 out of 10. Like if it was standing on its own, but it's not. So
Yeah, yeah. And then yeah, same as you guys. I thought visually it looked great. It looked really great. Like Appa, and Momo, which are
mm,
like animals. They look pretty good. The bending looked pretty good for the most part. Like a lot of the bigger shots, with the CGI and stuff looked good. Like I can't complain that like I'm like, oh, that looked really bad. Like it was like looked really well. And the casting was really good. The casting was on point. I really gotta say I was kind of shocked to see Amber Mid Thunder as Princess Yue at the end. And I'm looking, I'm like, is that her? And it was. I was like, oh shit. So that I enjoyed that because I do like her as an actress.
Same. I was really surprised to see that.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, I'm like, that looks like her. And I had to look it up and I'm like, oh, okay, it is her. So so the casting I think was super on point for everybody. Some of the relationships were done pretty good. I enjoyed them. Not all of them, but Iroh and Zuko definitely were their relationship together was exactly how it was from the show and I was like, okay, that was done really well. But yeah. I mean, overall, I gotta say I liked it, but we're gonna get into the bad stuff. And then we're gonna talk about that. So, Brandon, what didn't you like about the show?
I think that they could have stood to kind of learn a little more from M. Night Shyamalan's mistakes, especially in terms of the character of Aang. He wasn't as like morose as he was in the Shyamalan movie, but I think we can all agree that like part of Aang's charm is like that he was like a fun-loving kid. He dare I say he was a kid first and foremost. Despite his responsibilities, he liked to have fun, and even I think they could have maintained that if they wanted to make a more spot-on adaptation. And Six Feet where M Night failed, and that was one of M Night's biggest failures of many. Was not doing right by the character of Aang. I thought the kid Gordon Cormier, I think is how you say his last name. I thought he did good enough with what he was asked, but it always kind of felt like something was missing. I think there were things missing in terms of a lot of the characters, even Katara. I think they kind of they didn't go as far with her as they could have. I think there were changes and omissions made, and I think some of them kind of and I think you can't help but kind of compare it to the original because the original was just that great. When you compare it to the original, there were things that just kind of the omissions or the changes that they made didn't quite work. I didn't think they made. I think they kind of messed up with the character of Azula. She didn't feel right to me. She didn't feel as antagonistic to me. It felt like they were trying to like water her down or make the character like sympathetic. I hope they don't do that with season 2 and 3 if they happen. So I think those were like they're always in the back of my mind. It kind of felt like something was missing, and I can't quite put my finger on it if that makes sense.
No, I totally get it. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Brian?
Yeah, I'll start with Azula. I thought that was just. I honestly think that it's a miscast. Honestly, even the way she looks is something that because Azula had a certain look that was so sinister, and the girl's not very. It's not sinister, and I don't know if it's the
Yes,
way
I want
they.
like squeeze her cheeks and
Yeah,
like
she's so
like
cute. I'm like,
you're
oh,
like
you just the
adorable
cutest
looking.
little
yeah.
girl. Like, yeah, just
She
adorable little girl. Like, oh my god, I can't. And that's different than Azula is one of the greatest villains I've had. Like, she is
mm,
nuts, certifiably psychopath. Like, that's what you
yeah.
got to have for her, and I didn't feel that way from Azula
Yeah.
from Jump Street. I just did not.
Yeah, she
Katara,
constantly looked like she was about to start crying.
she had those tears in her eyes. Yeah. Katara was fine, but just okay. And I don't think they got the actual feeling that Katara really, gives everybody. Zuko was right on. Don't get me wrong. And Sokka, as I said that was really good too. Um, King Boomy
Mm.
was I didn't like what they did that
I
entire
hated
episode.
it.
The
I
entire
hated
episode I
the
didn't like.
Yes,
booming.
same.
It's just I thought that
Hated
was just not right, and they were taking things too seriously, and it just wasn't. That's not what I got from Boomy. I just thought Aang was fine. I had no problem with Gordon Cormier. I have no problems with him. I thought that he wasn't the issues I had. It was more of the settings and a lot of the ancillary things. But once again, if I hadn't seen the animated series, I would have no problem with these. But me seeing them and knowing how important they are, and knowing in the back of my mind, why are you changing this storyline this way? Why are you putting this in this order? This is not supposed to happen to season 2. Why are you doing those type of things? And that's probably the difference with having the creators there the entire time when they're writing the show and putting the show on. When you have the creators there, they're going to say, "No, we did this for this reason." But when they walked away, I think we got some of these kind of discrepancies, and yeah, I think the show would have been better if they would have been around, and they would have told little details that would have helped you capture who that character really is. And I think that we missed out on those type of things.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. The details in this one is what makes you love it in the animated one. It made you love all the characters, all the little details of like Aang being just a boy, being a little kid, and wanting to have fun, and certain other things, and this like it skipped over a lot of the details, which
It
I
has
get.
to though, because it's 24
It
versus 8.
Yeah, but also they were longer episodes. So
It's
I get
24
skipping
times.
over some of the details, skipping over some of the filler because there is some filler in season 1. I'm not saying every episode was a banger. But when you take, for instance, episode 3 in this one, which was called Omashu, right?
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, cool, we're getting Boomy. We don't get Boomy in Omashu. We get him in the next episode. But you're taking the Jet storyline. You're taking Omashu storyline. You're taking what was it? You're taking a few other
Canon.
storyline.
Mechanist, whatever.
Yeah. The whole Northern Air Temple storyline. And you're taking that. I was like, that really upset me. I was like, the Mechanist and the Sun. I was like, you took that and you just crammed him into a Mashu. It was like, why is he floating? Why does he have this glider? Like, it's just like, oh yeah, he invents shit. But it was like, yeah, but also they learned to respect the air temple. I was like, you skip over those details that really upset me. So, like, I know Derpy's not in here right now, but he was saying he loved episode 3. And episode 3 was the moment where I'm like, oh, this is not as good. Like, that's when I started realizing, I'm like, you're cramming a lot of stuff in one episode because you need to hurry up and tell the story.
I didn't
Um,
like 4.
I didn't like 4. I didn't like
That's where
4. And
3, I was like, I understood, but I thought they were throwing too many details in there. But
that's
4,
yeah,
I just did not like. I was not happy with what they did.
yeah. 3 was when I'm like, uh-oh, we're in trouble. And then 4 was my point where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not a fan of this. Because they made Boomy an asshole. Just straight up, flat out, Boomy's an asshole. And you didn't allow Aang to go on the journey to find out that it is Boomy. It's just right off the bat, oh, you're Boomy. And he goes, yeah, and you're an asshole for leaving us here. And this and that was like you didn't have that back and forth playful banter. It was just like he's an
And you
asshole
could've.
and it's a kid. You could have
And you
easily
could've.
could have. So that part it really upset me a lot. The spirited one, upset me a lot too, because again, you're taking multiple storylines and cramming them all into one. So we're gonna rate it now. Later, never. Now means you gotta check it out right now. Later means you can wait whenever, and never means just skip it. Brandman, what are you giving Avatar? Or Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm sorry, the avatars.
I would give it, honestly, I'd say a later, and the only reason being is even though the show like did enough, it didn't do anything that the animated series did much better. So you could you could just stick with that. Really, this is it's an entertaining enough watch. It's just an entertaining enough watch that didn't really bring anything like terribly great to the table. It was serviceable. So I don't really see anyone needing to like hurry to watch it,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Okay.
fans or
Oh, you're right.
otherwise. It was fine. Yeah. Go ahead.
Um, I, I felt I did all this fighting for it to be a decent one. I mean, as a fan of the animated series, it's a later to me.
Mhm.
As someone who thinks if it stood on its own and if you didn't watch it, I think it's a now. I think it's very good. I think there's a lot of people that have a stigma about animation and they don't give
Mhm.
animation the time of day. So, if this has brought someone to a great story into this, I'm thinking that people are going to like it. I think it's going to be a now. And honestly, I think that it gets renewed for in the March 13th. We'll put it out there. March 13th, I think it gets renewed for season
I can see
two.
that.
Yeah, and then that's if you're a fan later, if you see it for the first time now. So
Mhm.
especially because of that great story.
No. I'm giving it later. It was okay. Nothing
Mhm.
nothing to write home about, but it looked good. It was it took the story and you know told it. you know but yeah, I thought it looked pretty. It was cool. And if it gets more people into getting them into watching the animated one, then yeah, then that's awesome.
Well,
Go watch the better one. But
I don't think it will because people just have stigma about animation.
yeah,
It's
a
just
lot of them
Mhm.
do.
cartoon. So when you have a great storyline like that, and even if it cut some corners, I think it's still understood the assignment. It wasn't M. Night Shyamalan and understood the assignment. People are dying for this type of show. If you're comparing it to the animation, is you're like, oh, it's a later. But if you comparing it to M. Night Shyamalan, it is the most spectacular thing I've ever seen in my life. So like
Yeah, leaps and bounds.
so that's
Yeah,
why I'm saying that. So now, if you had never seen it before, it's a later. If you like the
yeah.
animated one,
Well,
Mhm.
there you go. For Brandon, who's never seen the animated one, he's giving it a later. So
yeah, but he's just a hater. We know he's a resident hater.
yeah, that's it for for us on this one. Leave a
Yeah.
comment down below. Let us know what you think about Avatar, the live action Avatar on Netflix.
Not the one about the blue people.
Yeah, not the blue people Avatar, the live action Avatar, but not the M Night one, the Netflix one. But cool. Yeah, leave a comment. Let us know what you think about it. Where is your rating on it? You're giving now, later, never. If you want to do like a number rating, let us know. Let us know what you like about it, what you hate about it. But appreciate everyone. Thank you guys so much. We are going to move on to our last topic and finish things up for the night.